So really, I mean, you had a fairly good sprinkling of people who are wannabe entrepreneurs. Now, what is it in your mind, Yatin? Maybe we can start with you. Is it kind of important for them to have an idea where they're taking on? Should they think of entrepreneurship as a David versus Goliath kind of a problem?
It's something which all of us carry a feeling that you want to do something on your own, you want to have an autonomy, you want to take a responsibility, and the experience you'll get, whether you fail or succeed, is different. That experience cannot be taken anywhere. You know, it's like a once in a life, and particularly you know, the kind of opportunities which are available today. Especially you know, the whole entrepreneurship community, the business community, the private equity investors, the VC culture are ready to back anything which will create disruption, new ideas, young guys, you know, with the skin in the game, alignment of interest, and a fresh idea is getting that fair amount of chance to, you know, taken up by investors. I think so.
Vishal, do they need to be comfortable being the underdog? If
no,
they have to be an entrepreneur.
No, I think, you know, entrepreneurship has been there forever. It's not something new. It's not something that's been coined on this forum today. It'd be disingenuous for us to say that people who are running a shop, or my father is an entrepreneur, my brother's an entrepreneur. So everyone's got, you know, koi dhanda kar rahe, and they're all entrepreneurs in some form. The new definition of entrepreneurs which you're talking about, which is actually this definition of an entrepreneur which tries to take the market, is built on innovation, is creating disruption. That itself has layers, because I think innovation and disruption are not necessarily the hallmarks of a great entrepreneur. It's market share, it's dominance, and that doesn't necessarily need to be created by disruption and innovation. So I do think that the definition of entrepreneur itself is changing, and with that, there could be newer definitions that could emerge, and we should welcome those definitions as opposed to where we are headed right now, which is actually, you know, locking everyone into one definition of what entrepreneurship should be.
Very good point.
When you start, you may not have too much clarity on it, but if you are passionate about it and you think that it really adds value to the ecosystem, then you should just go with it, and, you know, you'll figure it out on your way also. I think that's one way that I personally look at it, but, you know, there could be multiple opinions on that.
Rahul, you clearly are, your situation is the David versus Goliath. Is that a problem, or did you become an entrepreneur because this is what drove you? This was one of the attractions you were taking on, because even when you started many years back, at least in the phone business, it was clear that you would start off as an underdog initially, right? And so was that an inhibitor, or was that the motivator?
You know, when I was traveling in interior of Bihar, I saw a lot of people carrying chargers, and on top of it was written, pay 25 rupees to charge your phone, because there is no electricity in your homes. And that's how it struck me. I came back, sat with my, you know, other founders. I said, you know, our techie person is Sumit. I said, Sumit, why can't we make mobile phones? So, tu keh raha yaar, tu pagal ho gaya, bukhar to nahi hai tere ko? I said, no, yaar, I mean, so he said, would you buy, you know, phones with Micromax written on top of it? I said, I'm not the buyer, because, you know, all of us used to have Blackberries and those sort of phones those days. So people said, yeah, why the hell do you want to risk all those things? Who's going to, you know, buy mobile phones with Micromax written on top of it? I said, buyer is not here. Buyer is sitting somewhere else. So I was allowed to make 10,000 phones initially. Ki chalo yaar, 10,000 phone bana lo. You know, if it works fine, we'll go forward. If it doesn't work fine, we are happy whatever we are doing. And that's our first Micromax, you know, phone with 30 days of battery backup was born. 1 month of battery backup, we made that phone. Then the problem started. Actually, so making phone was okay, but we said, okay, now how do we distribute this? So we went back to all the big distributors of Nokia, Samsung and all. He said, we also make phones. Now we were doing 100 crores a year at that time. As I said, these distributors were doing 400 crores. So they were like 4 times bigger than us. They just offered us a cup of coffee. He said, yeah, coffee PJ, we'll be good friends. Thank you, bye. So we were not able to find one distributor. We went back to all these rural guys who were selling our pay phones. We said, now we're making phones also. Would you like to sell these phones? Let's see if it works. Within 10 days, all the phones were like polished from the shelf. And that was a time when we realized there's a huge, humongous potential in this market. And if you get it right, then you can, you know, this market has tremendous potential.
The industry develops a new technology spine. And when they develop a new technology spine, they deliver value in a playbook that did not exist before. So the competitor didn't even know that this is going to come, which is to some extent what happened to Nokia, right? Now the entrepreneurs who thrive on these kind of things are the disruptive entrepreneurs. Now, they are probably no more special than the restaurant owner in sector 37 or whatever, but those entrepreneurs need a certain kind of a mindset, which has not been peculiar to our Indian culture up till now. Right. What would you advise our people? How can they cultivate that mindset so that their chances, their odds of being successful can go up to some extent the way that happened here?
I mean, one thing is, I agree with what you're saying, by the way, because what we did was, what we do over the service we provide is not new. People were providing it earlier. So whether they were rolling a truck to somebody's house to fix their computer or to install their hard, software driver, there was somebody who's delivering that earlier. We just had a different delivery model, which parried with the flawed economic model that was built around service delivery in a hyper commoditized market of electronics. So from that perspective, it was a different model, and that model keeps innovating. But I think the thing is that when you build, you try and build for the future. So you build based on what your basic ambition is. And at that time, our ambition, whether it was immature or whatever it was, that we wanted to be a global services brand from India, a consumer services brand from India, to be more precise. And in that respect, you needed to build a technology platform that would be agnostic to geography or where the service is delivered, to whom it's delivered. It needed to be language agnostic. So we have a market in Spain right now. The service is delivered locally in Spain, or tomorrow if it's delivered through work at home people, or it's delivered through on-site technicians. We've got 1,600 people in the US. So I think the evolution of that, but then when we look at it, is that that's the initial design, and you keep ratifying that design by making investments in it. But then there's a constant evolution that happens, especially in my industry, which is technology, and I'm sure it happens in everyone else's. And what we see as the next sort of disruptor that's been bantered around and in an elegant way being phrased as Internet of Things. And if you look at the number of devices that'll ingratiate our lives over the next 5 years, the different types of protocols, the different ways that they need to talk to each other, how do they actually make themselves purposeful with a singular kind of interface. All of those are the next challenges. So we need to keep evolving, and you have to be on your toes. I mean, the day you get complacent, you basically get outdated by somebody else, and you should, because if somebody else is doing something better, then they deserve to be in your shoes.
Sure.
The player biggest in his industry, in his segment, his sector, doesn't realize the competition is coming from behind. And we are one of the only non-bank wealth management firm, largest in India. Rest everybody we compete with is bank. And when we started our proposition, we strongly believed that there's a gap in service offering for wealthy individuals, and these banks are doing a disservice out there. That was a key thought process behind. We thought banks were great at handling money, and we wanted somebody to manage money. And we picked it up from there. And everything what they were not doing, we started offering that. And end of the day, the customer decides who wants to deal with. As you get the flow of money, as you get newer clients coming to you, that's where the disruption started. And it was, again, I said this, finance, very simple, is not changing last 100, 200 years. I think so. What is changing in every sector is innovation. There's no invention in our industry, but innovation leads to where disruption takes place, and people like us create a complete shake in the industry, and the ranking order changes fast.
Mu Sigma and InMobi at least have global competitors. Mu Sigma has Wipro and Infosys as their competitors, right? Global competitors, but local global competitors.
Yeah.
InMobi has Google and Facebook as the competitors. Flipkart has now Amazon and Snapdeal as competitors. Yeah. What's your guess? Will competition bring them down, or they'll stumble on their own internally?
I think there is a third option also, is that they will be able to pivot. And see, you should also think that, none of these three companies have, stopped innovating as of now, right? They have not got into that mindset of, being a large enterprise client. They are aware of these challenges and threat, and they are, working towards it. So as you grow as, an entrepreneur, you should not lose that entrepreneurial spirit. till you have that spirit, you know, no matter what competition, what the industry throws at you, and if you have the flexibility to actually, you know, drive forward, you will be able to actually, you know, face them and be able to, you know, compete with them head on.
My question to you is, supposing, you know, and you are getting into that same kind of a situation. Somebody sitting in Delhi would say, you hopefully you will be 10x of what you are today. What keeps you worrying that that may not happen?
So still, we were able to look at the problem in a very, very different way. If you are able to view a problem in a different way, then there is a good chance that you will be able to actually come up with a differentiated solution. Everybody in India talked about logistics as a problem, which is basically where it's a operational issue or a manpower driven issue, where, you know, you would say that when we started this, right, people told us that, you know, you guys are not, you have no experience dealing with manpower, right? Or we have right now 15,000 people working for us. How are you going to manage that? We saw it as a problem, which is, we didn't see it as a manpower problem, we saw it as a technology problem, that the solution to the logistics problem in India will not come by basically, you know, better manpower management or slave driving approach, but it will be through technology and efficient use of technology to drive efficiency in the system and in the network, right? So that was a completely different viewpoint. The second thing was that, you know, you will not be able to attract talent into this industry. There we say that, you know, the logistics problem is not an easy problem. It's a very, very complicated problem. You know, it's not rocket science, but it's very close to it, right? And when you offer that kind of problem to people who are intelligent and who like to solve problems, you are able to attract good talent. So at that time, we were able to attract. Now we are able to attract, you know, engineers, MBAs who have significant operational experience, right, from top institutes into work into the logistics industry. 5 years, 10 years back, you know, nobody from IIT or IIM will even go and join a logistics company like anywhere. But that's the difference we were able to create, which a FedEx or a Blue Dart or the Aramex of the world were not able to create.